if you were to sit down and go through every little opinion that you might see or hear about Jeet Kune Do, you could come up with multiple definitions or ideas of what Jeet Kune Do is, what I guess some people call interpretations of Jeet Kune Do. So today we'll take a look at evidence, let's say, that there is for what constitutes JKD and what does not. Hello everyone, this is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Do Rebel, and welcome to the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast number 146. This is the one about Jeet Kune Do, what it is, what it isn't. And I hope you notice the question mark at the end of that title. So if you're, as you're logging in, if you'd be kind enough to say where you're logging in from and hit the like button, and feel free to continue doing so throughout the broadcast. If you're catching the final edit video over on the YouTube, please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. If you enjoy my work, check out jkdrebel.com, click on the Rebel Gear link and see what we offer. But of course, the best thing you can do is to share this video and spread the word about the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast. So I have talked about this similarly before today. But for the first time today, my source material, I don't think I've ever used this on a broadcast before. So my source material today is from Bruce Lee, The Celebrated Life of the Golden Dragon. So back when I started making notes for this broadcast, which, believe it or not, was over 2 months ago, these were some of the ideas about Jeet Kune Do that were floating around here on the internet. So one was that JKD is the thing that came after Jun Fan Kung Fu, which was first taught up in Seattle. So that was something floating around. JKD is a thing that was co-created in Oakland with James Lee. That was another one. JKD is the art that Bruce Lee created in 1967 based on Wing Chun, Western boxing, and fencing. JKD is the philosophy created in Los Angeles, while Jun Fan kickboxing, Jun Fan Kung Fu is the art. All right, so get that one. JKD is the philosophy and Jun Fan is the art. And then the last one, JKD is the art that Bruce Lee created by combining different styles, and as such is the forerunner of MMA. So I'm not commenting all those. I'm just telling you that back when I started doing research for this is what was going on. So you will notice that none of these are new arguments, let's call it. None of these are new discussions. They're some of what people have been talking about back and forth in the JKD world for decades. Right. And yes, these topics have been discussed. Some people would say ad nauseum, right? Repeatedly for years. But keep in mind that every day there are new people joining the world of Bruce Lee and Jeet Kune Do. And therefore, the need for the need for the continued discussion, right? I was going to say the need for the continued discussion is a necessity. Right. In fact, right. So, but case in point. So shout out to my boy, Bob Landers, who earlier today, Bob let me know that this is now available for pre-order. Let me see if I can show it to you here. What's going on with my machine? Okay. So it's not letting me, push stuff into the stream. I don't know why my keyboard seems to be dead or something, right? But it is, it's the latest offering. I can't even remember the title, but it's the latest offering from EasternHeroes.com, right? And it's something like Chan Yuk, the man who shot Bruce Lee. So I think it might have something to do with a camera guy and Bruce Lee, right? Anyhow, right? But that's just evidence that the Jeet Kune Do thing is not going away. The Bruce Lee thing is not going away, right? So we got new stuff coming out from Eastern Heroes next month, right? Now, back in the glory days, let's call it, of Jeet Kune Do, we used to enjoy telling people that it was easier to talk about what Jeet Kune Do wasn't than what it was. But as I grew older and wiser and learned more about communication, I came to realize that that was not the savviest of approaches to use, especially when you're talking to people who are genuinely interested in what you're saying, right? So despite what Bruce Lee himself may have said or written about life or about martial art or about Jeet Kune Do being a constant process of evolution, it appears that when it comes to just what constitutes Jeet Kune Do, or what constitutes the practice of the art, that's where JKD suffers from what Chris Kent calls an identity crisis. Because to a certain degree, Bruce Lee never gave us an exact blueprint, and there were people who were trained using perhaps particular approaches. Therefore, for some people, based on approach, JKD is what Bruce Lee did, what they saw Bruce Lee do, or what they have heard or read that Bruce Lee did. See, I'm trying to cover all the different groups of people that might have a similar opinion. So in other words, if you read that Bruce Lee said that Jeet Kune Do is derived from Wing Chun, boxing, and fencing, and if you trained with someone who happened to have trained in that expression of Jeet Kune Do, then you might choose to pay less attention to other things and decide that all of your evolution will take place within the confines, for lack of a different expression, within the confines of Wing Chun, boxing, and fencing. However, there came a time when Bruce Lee said of his art, Jeet Kune Do does not look at combat from a certain angle, but from all possible angles. It utilizes all ways and means to serve its end, but, and that is a very important but, it is bound by none. In other words, JKD, though possessed of all angles, is itself not possessed. There also came a time in the history, right, when Bruce Lee said this about his three teaching assistants. Both Taki and James are more steeped in the Chinese system because they met me at an earlier stage. And consequently, whenever I see the two of them, I try to liberate them more from one path to walk the pathless path. Dan, a dedicated professional, met me during the midst of my evolution, though he has less training than Taki or James. Now, again, if you yourself spent time, or if you spent time with someone who spent time with Bruce Lee in his more evolved period, you might come away with an ultimately different approach to training Jeet Kune Do. When I trained with Daniel Lee, for example, just a short while, in conversation, he added the adjective fixed to the Jeet Kune Do saying, using no fixed way as way, which I thought was really cool, was really kind of interesting, and actually helped it to understand the saying. Bruce Lee himself left us guidance in these words. Therefore, all right, I'm quoting now, therefore, to define JKD as a particular system, Kung Fu, Karate, etc., is to miss it completely. It is outside all particular structures and distinct forms. Now, to the uninformed, misinformed, malinformed, or even to the uninitiated, that might sound like Jeet Kune Do could be some sort of like a hybrid or a mixed martial arts thing. That's why you have to listen further. So this is a quote continued. However, do not mistake JKD as a composite style or being neutral or indifference, for it is both at once this and not this. it is neither opposed to styles nor not opposed to them. To understand, one must transcend the duality of for and against into one organic whole. So obviously then, an idea that Jeet Kune Do is whatever a person comes up with, right? Even after training with a legitimate source, that does not pass muster. That's obviously not what it is. Fortunately for the deeply interested few, right? We can find guidance in the pages of the Tao of Jeet Kune Do. For example, on page 23, we have the facts of Jeet Kune Do, where Bruce Lee talks about things like economy type structure, broken rhythm, strong in fighting, etc., etc. If you haven't looked at that page in a while, go back and take a look at it. I imagine on pages 74 and 75, there is a listing called Some Weapons from JKD, and it is a veritable cornucopia of techniques. And then on pages 8 pages, 115 to 123, we have Bruce Lee's notes on grappling, and again, could be considered a technique blueprint if one desired to see it as such. So a really diligent person could probably learn from the Tao, combined with like some video instruction, could probably even learn something from cinematic or theatrical Jeet Kune Do in terms of delivery, you know, because we've talked about this before. When you hit, you know, channeling Bruce Lee when you punch, when you do the lead sidekick, you know, channeling Bruce Lee when you sidekick and what have you, right? But of course, a better bet is, or should be, to study with a legitimately qualified person. And that's where sometimes there can be problems, because some sources of legitimately qualified people, some sources are better informed than others. And that is just a Jeet Kune Do reality with which we are all going to have to live, right? Bruce Lee, I don't know if it's unfortunately or fortunately, I mean, because it depends. Bruce Lee did not believe in established systems, right? And said as much, right? Here's the last quote. Well, not the last, the penultimate. Truth is a pathless road. It is total expression that has no before and no after. Similarly, JKD is not an organized institution that one can be a member of. Either you understand or you don't, and that is that. It's that part about the organized institution that I think has made a lot of problems for people who wanted to, again, for lack of a different expression, organize Jeet Kune Do in some form or fashion in order to move it forward, right? But, you know, it's there, and what are we going to do? Okay, so last quote. Therefore, to be a martial artist also means to be an artist of life. Since life is an ever-going process, one should flow in this process and discover how to actualize and expand oneself. I shall leave you with that. That's all I have to say in this video, right? So that's it. Feel free, share, comment, ask me questions if you want. I'll review everything after posting. Actually, I got some time before I get to do my Zoom class. So as I am wont to do, oh, I can't look at it because the keyboard, my mouse is stuck for some reason. And okay, all right, wait, maybe it's just the mouse, right? Okay, John Nasir is here. Hey, Paul Johnson, Pedro Rodriguez, Russell. All right, let me see if I can get my mouse to work again. All right, there we go. Okay, who else checked in? Kos, all right, Mark Black, Mark Stewart, Kevin Taylor, Mark David Collins. Mark David Collins was playing guitar earlier today, right? Brooks Long, and Ryan Brandon. Mick Tully, Mark Stewart says I am both possessed and repossessed. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that, right? Ryan Brandon, the Afghan Bruce Lee YouTube. Oh, okay. Yeah, I get what you're talking about, right? Okay. All right. So let's see. Who is this that checked in from Brooklyn? I wonder who that could be. All right. Anyhow. Okay. All right. So listen, people. On Friday, and I confirmed it with him today. So Friday is going to be Jeet Kune Do dialogues with Paul Johnson, right, of Real Jeet Kune Do, and I'm pretty sure that that's at 6 p.m. The regular time, right? So remember to sign up for notifications for when we go live here and over on the YouTube as well for when we post the final edit video for the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast and for the Jeet Kune Do dialogues. And follow me on Twitter at Dwight Woods and on Instagram at Dwight D. Woods. Today's a red day. There we go. Classic. I love this shirt, right? It's an old one. Okay, so I'll see some of you on Friday for Jeet Kune Do Dialogues, and then the rest of you I'll see back here next Wednesday for another issue of the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast. Until then, this is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Do Rebel, signing off. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Take care now. Stay safe. See ya.
Okay, now JKD, you all say, well, what is JKD? I've got the tape now. Now, I have to find out what JKD is. Well, some people always call it that it's a system, a different system, or a different style. Well, none of it is true because JKD is really an idea, as taught to me by my instructor. It has very much the same movements as you might have in your style. You have the hook kicks, we have the spins, we have the vertical punches, we have the hooks, we have the knife hand, the claw, and so on and so on. But there is something that differs us from the traditional systems, and that is in the attitude that we deliver these executions. As we go along, and if you pick up the other tapes, you will see our training methods will give you more of a freelance, more of a loose type coming across, rather than something that's rigid, something that's very tense. Okay, now, without further ado, we'll go into our first subject matter in our training, which is mobility. And as we contend with that, you will see how we apply the applications while in motion.